You ever think about quitting?
It's the combat of life, hammering the snot out of you.
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Welcome to the TNQ podcast. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell, and the shit, I died on that one. Sorry, brother, man.
All right.
My lungs.
The excellence got so thick.
It got so thick, it destroyed my lungs. I can't even begin to tell you how fired up I am. We have got somebody, Marcus, that's coming on today that, I mean, when you talk about never quit, man, I go back to some of the most profound shows that we've done with Charlie Plum, Dewey Bozzella, and now we've got Kwame coming on, man. The whole idea of incarceration, your freedom being taken away. I mean, I think about my mom, why I joined the military, why I wanted to be a SEAL, why I promote our American values. It's about freedom and democracy, right?
Absolutely.
And here we have a guy coming on that literally can talk to the fact of what it means to be wrongfully incarcerated for 27 years.
Sure. I mean, you rattled off those two names. There's a few of our guests. The Never Quit stories, every one of them are monument,
huge,
epic, right? And everyone can relate to that. There's a few guys we bring on that it's just one of those situations where it's getting your freedom pulled away from you. That's almost like dying. I mean, a
component of it, right? That emotional death.
You're not ready for that, especially in the world we live in. That's snatched away from you. That's meaning of life is it has meaning, and it's kind of hard to get any meaning while you're in there if you're not ready for that.
At all. If you're mentally not developed, and I can't wait to hear that process for him. But even on top of that, man, he was sentenced to death. I mean, he was on death row at 17 years old, man. I mean, think about that. Have you ever been into one of those places? Have you ever seen death row or anything like that?
Well, I went to college in Huntsville. Wow. That's where we keep the pins and the rows out there. Walls unit. It's changed now since I've gotten older, but I went out there one time.
Wow.
And the bar that Mojo and I used to bounce at, the bartenders worked at the prison. And then one of the main bartenders, James, great guy, awesome dude, man. He took care of me. Love you, James, man. He's just what you imagine the head guard at death row would look like. Huge, bald headed. Right, it looked like the kingpin. Just man, just the nicest guy in the world. I'll tell you, one time I was in a fight with a guy, and he came up behind me and grabbed me and just picked me up, turned around, and walked off. And I couldn't do anything. That's how big this dude is.
That's big.
Right?
That's big.
And I knew it was him when he got hold of me. I just went,
He picked you up by the scruff of the neck and
just picked me up from behind and just carried me off. I was like, okay.
Roger that.
But Mojo and I asked a couple of times. We never asked him what the job was like because it's kind of like asking guys in the military. Same thing with prison guards. You just don't ask them about it. If they want to talk about it, that's fine. But truth of the story, he's like, hey, I need you guys to go. Morgan and I were getting a little out of hand, so he's like, come with me.
Yeah.
And it's something. Being in jail is one thing for something dumb, but when you're in the prison, when that door shuts behind you, it's the smell and just and you know you're locked into something. Yep. It's secure. And then when you going on the row, you think regular jail's bad. It's nothing compared to what the row is. I mean, that's the worst go up in there. So it's isolated and regimented, and I don't even have the words to describe it. It's like you go in there, you got to switch into your mindset of
finality,
right? Yeah, survival kind of everything's changed.
Yeah, time no longer has control other than the end of your life.
Or you do the time, and once you figure that part out, I mean, it's basically what this kind of deal where you're not going into prison, you're stepping into your mind, right? And you have all that time to better yourself mentally.
That's awesome. It's a powerful adjustment to everything that you could possibly, that we normally take for granted, right? And that's freedom, and that's your ability to move.
Imagine going in there for something you didn't do. Like if you did something and if you get the, I mean, when you walk in there, that's one thing. But walking in there and not having a clue about what you were supposed to be supposedly have done, much less survive 17, jumped in with a bunch of men.
Yeah, it's wild.
No.
So if you're a new listener to this show, stand by, because this one is going to be intense. It's going to be powerful, and it's going to be incredibly beneficial for you if you're locked in your own prison in your life, whatever that may be, whether it's literally or in the prison of your mind. This show is going to be a powerful show for you. If you're coming back for more, thank you so much. We really appreciate your being here. It's an incredible thing. If you want to know more about what it is we do, go visit our website at tnqpodcast.com, where you can download all our shows. We'd love to have you contribute and send in your greatest never quit story. We've got this beautiful community of supporters on Team Never Quit. People have shared their great, amazing stories, so please share yours. We also have amazing merchandise and some great T-shirts and all the different types of things that can really benefit your support and the support of us and what the show stands for. We're also all on social media. I'm at Team Frog Logic. Marcus is at Marcus Luttrell. The Wizard is at The Wizard TNQ. You got the show at TNQ Podcast. Please follow along. Wizard, tell us a little bit about Kwame.
Kwame, Ajamu. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. His story started as a teenager there in Cleveland when he and two others were wrongfully convicted, sentenced to death in 1975 for a murder robbery. The sole evidence was a false and coerced eyewitness testimony from a 13-year-old boy who was to later actually play a central role in their eventual exoneration many, many years later. Kwame himself spent 28 years in prison, but like I said, he was convicted along with his brother Wiley and his friend Ricky Jackson. They both stayed incarcerated for, I believe, around 12 or 13 more years. In fact, his brother, Wiley Jackson, when released, after 39 years, was the longest incarceration ever served for a person who was subsequently exonerated later. I know he's going to get into a lot of the details of his story, so I just want to give the 30,000-foot, view on that. Really, let's talk to the man.
Absolutely. What do you say, Mark?
Yeah,
let's bring him on. Marcus, I'm telling you, man, when my buddy, Mike Goodman, put me, he talked to me about this guy, man. I did an event with Mike and his company, and he said, Rut, man, he sits me down, he goes, there is a guy that I know who knows the never quit mindset better than any human being I have ever met in my whole life. I was like, oh, my little spidey senses triggered. I was like, my God, who? And he tells me about Kwame. And I was like, my God, do you think he'd want to come on the show? And Marcus, what do you think? What do you think has happened, buddy?
He's here.
He's here. He is here. He is sitting right here. We're staring at his beautiful mug on Skype right now. So let's bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Mr. Kwame Ajamu. Thank you, sir, so much for coming on.
Yes, it is indeed a pleasure and an honor. It's always a pleasure for me to stomp down that society that broke down the one that truly is the society of life.
Amen.
Honor that you allowed me to come and do so. on your podcast.
Well, that's great, sir. We
Excited
really
you're
appreciate
here.
it. Yeah, thank you. All right. Now, before we get going, before we get into the meat and the potatoes of this thing, before we really dig into your never quit mindset, we first got to get warmed up, sir. We gotta massage that gray matter. We gotta get limbered up. We gotta get some coffee in us, and we gotta start stretching out with what we call the Mad Minute. Now, the Mad Minute will be a rapid fire series of questions. Now, these questions are going to be the most difficult questions you've ever faced in your life.
Sure.
Yeah, we promised you that.
These ones are going to stump you more than any question has ever stumped you. So, sir, are you ready for the Mad Minute?
Yes, I'm ready for this Mad Minute.
Okay, Marcus, fire away.
First car.
Well, my first car
Yes, sir.
was 1961 Ford Country Sedan wagon.
61.
Full 9 engine. I used to race.
You raced it?
Yeah, it's a race it against all my friends. They had a thing when I was a kid, race title for title.
Oh,
And, sometimes you come away with a nice wine, sometimes you come away walking,
No way walking.
oh, that's awesome.
That's hardcore, man, racing for pigs, because especially you don't know what's under the hood. Back then, especially because if you get over there and tinkering around the motors, you can really get some ponies pushing out of them. Kids these days,
Absolutely.
some of those racers do that, but man, that's a lot giving up your ride.
I still love to go fast too.
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
You just got Wizard fired up on that
Live fast,
statement.
die hard, brother.
All right, Wizard, fire away.
All right. Who was one of your heroes when you were young?
Oh man, that's easy. Well, I got two, but because I like to go fast in the cars, the Flash was my man.
Answer that question. So everybody gets a nickname usually when we're referred to them after the show, because when once y'all come on, man, we bring you into the fold. You're in the family, so this is the Flash.
That's
right?
the Flash from now on. All right, if you could go back in history and for any time and sit down with somebody for a whole day and just swap stories and ask questions, who would it be?
Oh man. It would be Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
Awesome. That would be wild, right?
That's funny you should bring him up. I was thinking about Gandhi yesterday when we were doing something like, man, and there's that one thing, if I could go back and talk to Gandhi.
Yeah, he's
He
up
was
there
something.
in top 10 for sure.
What do you think you'd ask him?
The reason why I say that is because I all my life I've asked Gandhi, to myself in my head if I ever talked to him, the same question that people ask me, which we'll get to when you get to my story.
Right.
That's why I would definitely I like to talk with Gandhi.
Kindred spirits. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Marcus, fire away.
Who is the one person you can talk to just about anything?
Now living?
Yes, sir. Or no.
Yeah.
Yeah, living.
It would be my wife.
Awesome. That's
Right?
a good man right
Best
there.
part about that, man. I dump everything in mine too, sir.
Awesome.
All right. What's a bucket list item that you have that you're yet to complete?
So, erase the bucket part. I don't like to be at the end of anything, but
Sure.
on the list of things that we got to get done is seriously, guys. I have an affinity towards the way the world is being dominated in the sociological fields in this life.
Amen.
I don't understand why people are hungry. I don't understand that. And especially in the United States of America, restaurants throw away tons of food, and there's a man right next door laying on the ground.
I never could understand that part. You see that all the time, right? Where they come out and they're throwing it away with a dude standing there hungry and hell, just leave it.
So, if I could stretch with, that imaginary thing, it would be to circumvent how people live, man, in this world, because we have to come together and be one.
Amen.
As a people.
Amen. I agree with you. 100%.
Well, that's a massive topic right there.
All right. What are the top 3 books that you've read in your life?
Oh, and this is really something too. I think the most strategic book that I read was actually an Islamic book on war.
Oh, wow.
The Battles of the Prophet. And, some fascinating wars in there.
Well, what Muhammad's top general was considered one of the top generals of all time.
Ever, right?
Yep.
And and in that book, the battles of Bid'ah.
Yeah.
It's ice cold, man. Yeah. So strategies there.
Very cool.
Chess and pool.
Yeah.
So I shoot a great game of pool and I play an awesome game of chess. So there it is. The other really, really, really good book I read was George Jackson's Soledad Brothers. Believe it or not, it was part of my death row time. Mm-hmm. And what really, 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 really grabbed me in that book was because he wrote letters. Uh-huh. And in one of the letters, he explained my position, and I think the position of everybody who has been subjugated or who are being subjugated. And he said that prison will either bring out the very best in you or destroy you completely.
Wow.
And those words stick with me today,
Yeah.
because that's obviously how I got here.
Exactly.
And then of course the other most book that really is fascinating, I would recommend it, is Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
And I could say her entire series.
Excellent.
But when you ask who is John Galt,
Who is John Galt?
Yeah.
Atlas Shrugged. Fantastic book.
You had Atlas Shrugged in your hand yesterday.
I did, actually.
Yeah, you did.
That is true. I had that in my hand yesterday.
Wow, those are great answers. Great answers.
Yeah, thank you for that.
All right, Marcus, fire away.
All right, when you're in a bad mood, do you like to be cheered up or left alone?
When I'm in a bad mood, I like to be cheered up. Because I'm a social being, so I never want no one to see me in a different light than what I am, and because it's a beast in me, Yeah. And I pray. I pray I don't ever have to let that boy go, because really, man, it's a whole lot of shit in me, So
I bet. And
when you make that transition in your life that we all have, and from the warfighter, from the warrior, basically from the warrior to the other side, there is the piece to it. You can always feel that tiger in the back, right? If it was ever, because there's little things. Even if you are a complete piece and you let things go, like we do when we get older, man, there's still the situation that happens that you remember back in the day, like normally I would have twisted your head off for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I normally do, though, being that I'm the chairman here in this organization, is I would call someone, one of the guys, and they'd be the first to tell you, and they didn't know it until maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and we were all together kicking it, and it was just time for us to talk, and we were talking, and it came time for me to share something that was intimate, and that's what I told them, exactly what we're saying now, is that if I'm having a bad day, I call one of you guys out the blue, right. And so my one man out of Chicago, he told me, he said, damn. He said, so you've been calling me? He said that word.
Right.
And, I said, yeah. I said, because, steel sharpens steel, man.
Amen.
Said, you don't always have to know you did what a brother going to know that he your brother. You dig?
Absolutely.
So that's where I am, man. I I carry a struggle, all the way to the end. That's just me.
That's beautiful.
That's the best part about still running around with a crew too, because when I get like that, I call them up, and I'm calling them, but I'm not going to talk about what's on my mind. I'm talking about something they know that,
Exactly.
right? Hey, did you catch the game the other day? Like, just whatever you want to talk about, or I'll do hey, I need you to show up.
Right.
We need to hang out.
Totally. Simple. That's simple.
And everyone's like, all right, cool. Well, I know exactly what needs to happen. I got to go.
Yeah.
Exactly right. It always works. It dissipates.
That's
man.
right. It does work.
It tempers that. It tempers that fire inside for sure.
Exactly.
All right, Wizard.
Well,
last question.
Great answer with that book question that Dave asked you. So I want to know, I bet you have some favorite quotes. I'd like to hear one or two quotes that really stand out to you.
So, this is a quote. Can you see my T-shirt?
Yeah, we got it. Witness to Innocent, 15th anniversary.
Exactly. So on the back of the T-shirt, we normally put quotations from brothers that have passed on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular quotation on the back of this T-shirt is from a brother out of New Orleans by the name of John Thompson, who passed away October the 3rd, just passed.
Sorry for your loss, Kwame.
Yeah, because that's really dear to me. He was really, really, really a good brother. I love him dearly and miss him so much. But the quotation that on the back of this shirt says, the prosecution rests, but I can't.
Wow. That's
so
profound.
That was way before he even died that I took a fancy to that quotation.
Well, that is the perfect segue for us to change directions here. First, thank you so much for the mad. What was that, Wizard? Mad 9 minutes? Mad.
Yeah, that was mad 10 minutes.
For the mad 10 minutes, Marcus. Should we just call it the mad 10 minutes?
That knowledge, it's the great. That's how you know you're gonna have
a great guest.
Right, when the mad minute questions generate
awesome.
something heavy like that, they're like, here we go, dude.
Here
Just
we
go for the ride.
I love it. Well, thank you, sir, for that. But the main reason why our listeners have come to the show in millions is not because of Marcus and my funny rhetoric, but it's because of incredible human beings such as yourself that have come on the show and decided to share something really profound with our listeners who might be in their own prison, if you will, or actually in prison or in a place in their life where they just don't see the light at all. And so, sir, if you could,
they're still in that transition point when they were in the light and they stepped into the darkness now. So the fear and they're in that spot, right?
Absolutely.
And they're actually here to hear you, how you went through, because there's a couple, and you're a prime example of staying in the darkness for an extended amount of time and then coming out even shining brighter than ever. So thank you for doing this. I'm sorry, man.
I love that you get fired up like that. He's never done that, Kwame. He's never chimed in at that part. So I'm just going to get out of the way. Would you please share your never quit story or stories with our listeners?
Okay. So, the year was 1975. And this is when I became a personal Superman, okay? 17 years old, had never been in any trouble in my life, believed in all the things that were pertinent in a 17-year-old young man's mind, aspirations, and dreams. Played ball at John Hay High School. Wasn't that good, but, I still played. I was on the team. Whole lot. Had girls, the whole 9 yards. My brother had just got a new car. The year was 75. His car was 71. So, we was popping. We just 3 years apart, and then bam, here comes wrongful incarceration driving this big ugly wheel through my neighborhood.
Wow.
And this money order salesman, 59-year-old Caucasian man, was in making his last drop. And he was robbed and murdered there in the neighborhood. It would only take 3 days thereafter before they would have three individuals, myself, my brother, and my good friend, all based on a lie and a coerced lie from a young 12-year-old boy who was so socially degraded that they used to pop him in the head. He was real skinny, had thick pop bottle glasses. He was the paper boy, so he didn't get a lot of respect in the neighborhood. And when this murder happened, he just happened to step up and say, "I know who did it,"
Wow.
And we would find out 39 years later, that's why he was just socially unattractive and he wanted some attention.
Wow.
So the police reeled him in. Yeah, man, they reeled him in. And at that particular time, he tried to unconfess, right? He told him that, no, he really didn't know. And he called his mom. His mom was in the hospital. And his mom told him, well, Edward, his name is Edward Vernon. Said, Edward, if you didn't see those boys do that, then you have to tell the cops that. And he did. But his mother was in the hospital because she had ovarian cancer. And she was dying. She was dying. And so you see where the story's going?
Yeah.
So the police accused that boy and told him that if he, because he was so young, didn't change his story, they would lock up his sick mom instead.
What?
Wow.
And
Unbelievable.
my hand to God, man. And so when he came out of that interrogation room, he quickly selected my brother and my friend who were, in the adult county jail. I was in the juvenile. And it took 7 days thereafter when they wrote me into the story completely as being one of the predecessors in the case. So now, baffled, confused, afraid, you name it. All these things is going on now. Plus, I had 2 trials, unlike my brother.
Kwame, can I just interject real quick? Can you paint a picture what it's like the first time the police show up at your and your brother's door, and what that was like for you and for your family? So
I'm glad you said that. I apologize too, because actually that's how they arrested me. 6, maybe 5:30 in the morning. You hear this loud boom. Cops kicking the door in. My brother and my friend was there playing chess. As that was our thing, was chess. We played chess, man, maybe since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And we played all the time, And so when they kicked the door in, they ain't moving nothing. They got them, swoop them up. But they do their thing with the guns all through the house.
Right.
And so they shook me woke because I was in the bedroom asleep. And when they shook me woke and I come to my conscious mind and realized that these cops was in here with all these guns, I thought about my mother in her bedroom. My mother, all of my life, had been suffering from congestive heart failure, which would eventually take her life. But at that particular time, it was just in my conscious mind that, hey, man, they could make her have a heart attack, which scare her, And so I just bolted past the cops like they weren't even there, And them cats chased me to the bedroom, But I wanted to see what was going on with my mother,
Right.
And by that time, they had tackled me and so they arrested me for obstructing justice, But I was trying to see what the hell was going on with my mother and them guns, Yep. Because I know that old lady, I don't give a damn what wasn't doing nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And so that's how I actually got arrested. And so I don't know what's going on at the particular time. I had no idea. And I'm just 17 years old. So they throw me in the back of the car and we driving. And the cop says to me, well, you can give it up, nigga,
Oh, my.
That's exactly what he said, And I still don't get it, We get downtown, they realize I'm 17, so they got to bring me back uptown to the juvenile detention center. And that's when I realized, they tell me, why I was there, because I was having a fit, And the reason why I was having a fit, because I was 17 and I wanted to see my mother, what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was just having a fit. So they told me what the charges were against my brother and my friend Ricky. Because at that particular time, again, I was only there because I ran and got all up in between the cops. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And so it would take 7 days. I stayed in that juvenile detention home 7 days, man. And so then they came back with the indictment against me and made me the third person in this robbery homicide. Yeah.
Wow.
Why do you think they were so motivated to coerce Vernon into implicating y'all in this?
So
They had no other leads,
uh,
or what was that?
So I didn't have a whole lot of legal knowledge at that particular time, but I was very socially conscious, especially since I'm living in a city that just went through two racial disturbances back to back,
Right.
66 and 68. So the year was 75, 1970, Kent State,
Yep.
Right.
So, right there in Cleveland, man, it was a cesspool of hard on crime, soft on development, And so this is why the ghettos was getting so bigger, and the prison population as well. And so, I understood that much, but never in a million years did I understand what could possibly be happening to me in my life, because I was just a boy, a kid,
Yep.
And the worst thing I ever did, was have 3 girls at one time. The worst thing I did was have 3 girlfriends.
Oh, yeah, you definitely deserved what you got there. That's the case, man. That's
on death row for that.
Yeah.
Right.
So man, I'm telling you, it was just awesome. You dig? And the metamorphosis that a human being is required to go through in life comes natural.
Right.
This is the story of the Sphinx. What goes on 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Is a man. You come out crawling, you stand up walking, and if you're lucky, you keep going. But sometimes you get weak and you got to get the stick. So the metamorphosis of human development comes natural.
Takes time too.
However, once it is predicated against someone being subjugated in the most horrific ways of human possibilities, and that, my friend, is to be segregated, cut off from society, put into isolation. And this is exactly what happens once a person, regardless of guilt or innocence, is sentenced to die. They become segregated. They become isolated. They put them into a cell. The prison sentence itself is a punishment. You understand?
Yes. Yes. Can I have you just take a step back? Because for me, this is really interesting, the innate development that we go through as human beings, as men, and the growth of our wisdom as it relates to the natural flow of human existence and experience is profound. Now, all of a sudden, you're 17 years old. You're sitting at probably with a court-appointed attorney. You're next to your brother and Mr. Jackson. And all of a sudden, the public defender, and which you have had no access to their case, no access to what's going on, you probably don't know. All of a sudden, they're going for the death penalty on you. Can you explain a little bit about that process and the trial itself for our listeners?
So, in my particular case, it was a death penalty case going in.
Wow.
Going in. They didn't. When I got bond over from juvenile court to the county courthouse, I was going to a trial death penalty defense. True enough. I was given 2 public pretenders. One was a habitual drunk, and the other one was his soft nemesis.
Oh no.
Okay, and so I was I tell you, man, looking back, it gets funny. It's so ridiculous, it gets funny. We in court, so. And I realized I got these 2 guys, which in the book that I got coming out, I call them Heckle and Jekyll. All right.
Heckle and Jekyll.
Appropriate.
You did. But, when I realized that these guys are who they are, and they're not pretending, these dudes is really messed up, Then you got to think of all the, like I said before, how you become disenfranchised in these rural communities, and you realize that it's a sociological, ecological thing, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, because this judge, he appointed these lawyers to me. He know these guys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm there goes the metamorphosis. Now he's busting. You dig? Because this brain is now got to foresee, it's got to absorb, and it's got to contemplate things, man, that has never run through my mind before. And I'm just 17 years old sitting in this court with Heckle and Jekyll, right? And so this is, like I say, it's so ridiculous it gets funny. Because there were moments when, I did my Perry Mason thing, I hunt Heckle. I say, hey, man, dig this here. You're supposed to at least stand up and rub your damn shirt, the front of your collar, like Perry Mason used to do. The judge know that means I object. This is crazy,
Right.
And he hunts me back, let's wait and see the outcome of what he's saying. What the hell you mean? He's saying he's trying to muck me around, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm just 17 and I can't really put this into a verbal articulation, you dig? So therefore, I'm muffled there too. I'm muffled in my mouth. You dig? I'm muffled. Only where I'm not trapped is in my heart. My heart is busting. You know what I'm saying? Because Superman want to come out, man, and save the world, but I can't because I don't know what to do. You see?
Right.
And this is what's so powerful about ignorance and the ability to transform from being ignorant into someone who now has ascertained not only the knowledge and the know-how, but the physical. You see, the physical of all of this. And so, and in there I sit there, man, and like I said, it just got so crazy where at one point they were doing pretty good, I thought. They had the young boy on the stand, and they had twisted him all around this show that he just had made all this up. And bam, the judge say, wait a minute, hold it. The judge turned to the jury. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I swear to God, I got the transcript, man. I'll mail it to you, show you. He said, ladies and gentlemen, just because this young man don't know up from down, can't say left from right, he's too young to articulate his words proper, doesn't mean that he's lying. And then he pointed to me and said, when he says this man is guilty. Now, in my 17-year-old mind, in my childish mind, I knew that I had just been muffed up real bad, right? I knew that. And I knew that, again, Heckle and Jekyll was the one that would be so drunk that he would be sleeping half the time. You had to wake him up.
Oh, my God.
I knew that these two cats wasn't going to stand up for me, man, And that was the only time in my whole court thing that I made the outburst, And I said, man, that's bullshit, And of course, shut up, sit down,
Right.
And they went right on, and in the end, they found me guilty and sentenced me to die.
Can you talk about that sentencing right there and what that felt like?
So when this guy, he really abused the fact that he was sitting on the throne,
Yep.
And this guy had me stand up, at that particular time. I changed my name legally. My name I was born Ronnie Patrick Bridgman.
Mm-hmm.
I changed it to Kwame Ajamu. And this is a part of the story that you really want, the never quit. But anyway, and I'll get to that.
We'll be here waiting, bro.
Take
your time, man.
This is riveting.
So this guy, and he got those ice water cold blue eyes,
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at me and he says, stand up, Bridgman, So I stands up, reluctantly I stood up because I you can feel when that stuff is coming your way, And so I stand up, but I don't slouch and all that. I'm proper, I stand up, because I've always been a fair guy. That's me. If I did it, I did it. Come on with it. If I didn't, do not charge me with that. That's just me, and we're gonna fight till I die.
Right.
So I stood up, and he said, yeah, on it. So now they broke the indictment up into aggravated murder, attempted murder. The proprietor of the store got shot in her neck, and then aggravated robbery for taking the monies, right? So he says on the count of aggravated robbery, I sentence you to 7 to 25 years. Sit down, And so I sit down, stand up. I said, look here, fuck you.
Wow.
Whatever you're gonna do, you do it, you know. But we're not gonna play that. You do me like this. You're not gonna do that, you know.
Not only you taking my freedom away and my life away, you can't. I'm not
How
gonna
you
let you
gonna make
berate
up?
me.
Dignity.
Yeah, you're not
Dignity.
taking my damn dignity, man. Can't let that happen.
And so he looked at me. He said, "Well, all right. I sentence you to die in the electric chair on October the 8th. You know, which was my birthday is October 25th.
No way.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He sentenced me to die, sent me to the death house all before I turned 18. I was still 17. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Holy
look this
cow.
judge up.
Yeah. His name was John L. Angelata. He's no longer here.
Angelata.
Wow.
John L. Angelata. Yeah.
And all right, so you get the verdict that you're going to death row. You're sentenced to death before your 18th birthday. They come, they grab you. Tell us the next process and because obviously you understand the greatest thing right now in our listeners' our minds are like, holy cow, what happened once he got behind those closed doors for so long?
Exactly. So yeah, so I got the sentence, and immediately a handful of, I can't even count the deputies, and normally it's one or two, but immediately I guess everyone in the courtroom came up and wanted to grab me, but they saw that I wasn't resisting or nothing, so they put the handcuffs on me, and so we walked out through the back. I looked over, winked at my mom and my sister, and so we walked out. And but when we got on the other side of the courtroom door, going into the corridor leading to to the jail and all that, the situation changed. I was no longer free. Of course, I was under their jurisdiction, and so, but it changed to a way that I didn't expect it to change.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the deputy that was with me, I'd say, I remember I'm just 17. I'd say he was maybe my age then, which I'm 60 years old. So he was a good 59 to 62 years old. And he took the cuffs off me, and he said, come on, baby. We got to go back up in here.
Wow.
And I never forget it. I didn't know his name, and I'm just a white guy, I never forget that guy, and like that rode with me. That was a part of the riding with me all to now.
Wow.
Was him doing that. Because,
Empathy.
Yeah, right. He showed me pure love, and what no, get your ass, and what none of that. He took the cuffs off, and he realized that he had a child, and he said, come on, baby, we got to go back up in here.
Wow.
And we walked on back up in there to the processing, and so, but when I got all the way into the county jail, so now that's a different matter. The county jail is a county jail, which in the city of Cleveland, still to this day is the training camp for the penitentiary.
Oh, wow.
I learned real quick about 2-for-1s and in the event that you or your listeners don't know what 2-for-1s is, never ask anyone for anything because it comes back twice what you got from them. Okay?
Wow.
Just it's the rule.
Oh, yeah.
I would if there's one cookie, he want 2 of them back when it's time to pay him back.
Right.
So
right.
I know that. Lunchtime, this guy comes by and want these cookies. I said, yeah. He gave them to me and I ate them. And he didn't know that I was pretty nice with my hands, though. And,
Thank God.
Yeah, so he would come, luckily. And so he would come back and, try the bully thing on the 2-for-1. I said, 2? I said, man, you only gave me 1 damn cookie, Oh, you won't, and, but it ended up with, him being sorry that he tried that with me.
Wow.
Which would save me, through prison. I learned how to horn. I was already good. Muhammad Ali was the other superhero of mine, so
right.
I always had him in my head, all my life anyway. So I was lightning fast. And, so I just horned them with some really nice guys while I was in there, Terrell, which was Muhammad Ali's sparring partner, Henry
Wow.
Terrell.
Wow.
Henry Terrell did 6 years in the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility, and I was there with him for the last 2 years. I got off death row and met him, and man, this dude was unbelievable. But I learned a lot of things, boxing wise from him.
That's cool. So what were
That's the way Dewey got through prison too, was boxing.
Boxing. Yep.
Yeah.
What was, so you're incarcerated, you're in there. How soon before they took you to death row? What was that like, going on death row, being a part of death row, and just the difference between that and regular?
They've never seen the row, right? It's not that people can go in there and just visit that at any given time. So people can't understand the difference between the.
you do something you like me. I love y'all, man. Y'all be asking the type of questions that I really need, because it helps me informational wise. Right. So now check this out. If it's a way, I'm gonna check too, because we're gonna stay in touch. We're friends now. We're brothers. Right?
Amen. Amen.
So if it's a way,
yeah, we got you. We got you now. We're together forever, brother.
Yeah. I cut a video. Actually to that point, right? The video that I cut is of course anti-death penalty, but it explains. I mean, perfect. Just the question you asked me. But since you haven't got the video, I'm gonna tell you, right?
Awesome. So
here's what happens, and this is really something too, man. Hold up, this thing popping up here. So you immediately. I'm sorry. The sentence. You go back to the county. If it's not the weekend, you're gone the next day.
Wow.
If it's not Friday, you're definitely gone the next day. So immediately I rode out, and that's like a 4-hour drive, from the county jail way out there to the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility at Lucasville, better known as the Lazy L, right? Mm-hmm. And so we got there. They pull us around in the back to this huge, to me, warehouse garage type, but actually it's a unit for the death house. And we drive up in there and everything, right? And so when we get out, it's just me. I'm the only person coming to death row, and they didn't have nobody else coming to the penitentiary, so it's just me. All of the goon squad of that shift, the second shift, which was 11. They have 11-man goon squad, counting the captain, so it's 12 of them, 11 under him. Mm-hmm. His whole goon squad was there. Captain John Whitney. He reminded me of the penguin on Batman. He waddled just like that. He had a cigar. He had a cigar in his mouth. A lot of guys got beat up because they'd say, "Hey man, Joe Lewis dead." What's that? But anyway, him and his goon squad, they damn waiting on us to come, right? The bus pull in. I get out. I got on the shackles, the belly chains, the whole 9 yards. Freezing cold. So you take this shit off of me. They all form a circle around you. This is their routine. And they give you you're no longer in wherever the fuck you come from.
Right.
You in the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility. This is my facility. We will kill you down here before the state will. We will murder your ass. We will take you outside, because they were run by the Klan. Right. He said, take your ass outside and hang you and fuck you. That's exactly what he said.
Oh, my.
Then, now strip. Who gonna argue, right? So, bam, I got naked, So they did the look up my butt thing and the cough and all that. Follow me. Walk me all the way down. The death row at that particular time only consisted of 12 cells. That's how small it was in 1975 in people. It was only 12 cells, right? Mm-hmm. About to move. I would be the last person that would end up on this before we moved into bigger cells. But anyway, cell 9, I'll never forget it. This is where you're going, but we kept walking to cell 12, which was where they housed the electric chair.
Wow.
Step in, the door closed behind you. This is their intimidation, no doubt. And it's working. It's working like hell. I'm just 17. Yeah. And I'm looking at this thing, man. And it's really crafted, really, really nice.
Unbelievably, right? It's crazy, man.
That's very nice workbmanship.
That's the bad part about the leather on it is just like, wow, like, ooh, you're going to get a soft ride. You know what I'm saying? But you can't make light of it, And so I turned around to this dude, and I said, hey, man, that's your hot date, I want you to meet Miss Thunderbolt, Uncle Firecracker. They call it all kind of stuff, And so you get your 2-minute tour of the death house. They bring you back and put you in this cell, and you're in that cell for the next however many years, 24/7.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's Kwame. That's intense, man. Can you talk about the feeling when you went past the first day you were supposed to be executed, and was there when did the trigger of hope start? When did the trigger of, man, I'm gonna make it. I can figure this out. I've got what it takes to endure this. When did that start to come to fruition, and can you describe that?
So this is something that naturally kicks in, like your endorphins, those pain markers that come, if you fall and hit your knee or something while you're running and jumping, you get up and you keep going. This naturally comes, like I was telling you about the evolution of your natural process anyway, to defend yourself, but now these circumstances are magnified tenfold because A, you're innocent, B, you're unknowing of the circumstances around you, and C, but really is before A, is the fact that you're just a kid,
right.
Just a kid. So if you think about youngsters, kids, they try to eliminate circumstances almost immediately,
right.
But the thing is that their small mentalities don't have the mental worth to supersede sometimes the illusionary tricks that are played upon this child. This is how child slavery and trafficking is so, because it's so easy to allure or elusify a child's mind. They may think they sharp, but 10 minutes, man, this is a kid, and you know how to walk right past them.
Oh, at 17 years old, you think you're the toughest thing on the planet. I mean, we're just kind of turning into men. Dad doesn't know anything or what. I mean, you're just trying to earn your own place among the other guys around us. Let me tell you something, man. Them doors shut behind you and those grown-ass men start screaming at you and telling you that's the end of everything. You kind of, especially with the uniform staring at you, you're like, this is terrifying, man.
This ain't no getting caught in the bathroom, shooting dice or smoking. Right. This is some serious stuff right here because they mean to kill me, and they mean to kill me for something that absolutely, positively have nothing to do with, So it's alarming and it's frightening at the very same time. And I was petrified. And so today, I just not to leave that, but just to tell you how magnified that terror was. Today, I even teach the practice of how terror had entered into the mortal being of my entire soul back then. Okay.
Wow.
So today I talk about that. And so now, I'm petrified. I'm terrified. I don't know. I'm pissing my pants. Everything. I don't know. I don't have a way out of this box, man. Right. So, as a human being, you start to lose your grip with reality.
Wow.
If you're not grafted to be strong. We're grafted individuals, right? From the parents, from the Creator, right? So, if you're not grafted to be this elephant that walks the tightrope, if you're not the tiger that can jump up in that tree just at one bound, then surely, the post-traumatic stress syndrome it's got you anyway. It's on us all, but surely it will manifest in a way that now is beyond even your comprehension.
Exactly.
You see, and so that's the part of my brother. That's the part of my brother that fueled me. All right. So, but as it is, I'm just 17. I'm just a kid. All this stuff is going on. My brother is like 4 or 5 cells away, I think. Ricky, my friend, he's like 6 or 7 cells. We're all on the same death row, but we're still apart, separated by these cells and the fact that we can't come out of these cells. And so what what manifested then inside of me was this charger, man, was this super ultra being that just wanted to survive. And as awesome as it was in reality, for others seeing this, it was a small thing for me. But I'm the kid brother, but yet, I was trying to bend them bars to save my older brother. You see, to go down there.
So it wasn't you switched it in your mind. It wasn't about you. It was about saving your brother and Mr. Jackson.
I have did my entire prison sentence, 28 years of my life, and it was never about me.
Whoa.
Oh.
It was never about me. This is why I'm gonna blow your mind as we go on.
Right.
So this is what made that barrier to where the hurt, the pain, the loss is all there, but it only could go so far because I had a check place for it because of my brother and my good friend. You see?
Right.
And so you asked me about books, man. I've read from way back. Ruth Benedict wrote a great book called The Racist. You should check it out, right? Terry Mayfield. I've read books that people would like, who is that? But this was all a part of the mental, the spiritual, and the psychological metamorphosis that entailed the growth in me. And the mere fact that I was beginning to recognize this was a holy untruth to me too, because and these things come when you begin to question just who you are, why you are, and for what the R is happening into and around you.
Amen.
You see, that makes God, the devil, they're no longer your adversary or your structure of hope. They become a value of circumstance and competence. You want to know, dude, if you really truly run the world, how can you exist and allow these things to happen? Not only to me, but those starving children, those blind kids, those crippled people, just on and on and on. And you, my man, if you run in the world like you truly are, then come on and make this shit happen, because I'm tired of this here, right?
Right.
And then the other part kicks in, which is your supernatural being.
Wow.
You see? And that's when you realize that maybe a whole lot of this stuff I'm reading is just that I'm reading because somebody wrote it. Just like I wrote a book.
Right.
See? And now it make you bag up a little bit. Make you pull back and you see things now with a broader perspective. And now you can see where, like I was telling you earlier, well, the judge selected the prosecutor.
Right.
You see? And the police work for the prosecutor.
Right.
You can see where this go with that and that go with this, and thus it helps you understand the why. Now you just got to get to the how. The hell am I going to get out of this here?
How long did that take, Kwame? How long before you had that existential perception shift, right? Where you're like, whoa, and now you saw the not even the playing field, the battlefield of your salvation, right? The battlefield that, man, here is what I have to work with. These are the tactics that are in play that they believe they defeated, but now I'm going to begin to understand and learn how to operationally control this battlefield. How long did that process take? How old were you when you're like, done?
You ask great questions.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. I was going on 21. Actually, I was going on 20 because it would be right before getting off of death row, actually. 1977. My brother had went back. He had won a new trial.
Wow.
But now I want to interject and just put a thought out there for you right now, for your audience, so that you understand where I'm going with this. I was 17, my brother was 20, and my friend in the middle was 17, turning 18. This is about 9 months older than me. Psychologically, there's a host attacks the human body, paranoid schizophrenia, and it starts in your early 20s. It manifests. You got me? You with me now?
Check.
So my brother at 20 goes back to court. He's won a new trial. The onset of this horrific disease is coming about, but no one knows it. And in this new trial, they find him guilty the exact same way, and they sentence him to death row the exact same way. Now, with the onset of paranoid schizophrenia, the depression, and the fact that his mind is probably running 10,000 miles a minute, it kind of agitated it. And so by the time he rolled back to prison, he was into letter and note writing to me, which were very, very, very hurtful letters, because he had taken on the understanding that the mob had set us all up, and that if he would do such things as burn his arms or castrate himself, it would eliminate the case and all of us would be free.
Wow.
So right there. And in the meantime, we're getting close to the Sandra Lockett decision, 1978, to get us all off death row.
Right.
So right there is when wrestling with my particulars became non-involved. And, because I'm realizing that here is a greater dilemma for the both of us. And it's mental health.
Right.
And that's when I growed up, man. That's when that day when I read one of those letters that was just so hurtful, and I knew that my brother was no longer in touch with reality in the way he should be, and that I began to study, and now the mind, the brain, psychotropics, medicines. He would spend years on these drugs, and so much so that I had to give him an antidote.
Wow.
For the drugs because of the side effects.
Did that?
Kwame, I was going to ask you a question about before you even started talking about Wiley, your brother. What the process of, was there any difference between the mindset of you three going through this together? You were talking about the evolution of you adjusting to this and finding a purpose and supporting your brother. We know now, you just explained what happened with Wiley. What was going on with Ricky? Did he go through a similar shift in mindset, or adjusting to being incarcerated, coming to deal with the fact that he was on death row? Did you guys lean on each other through this? What was going on with that?
Exactly. We took a little boy's path, and we stick with it all the way to now, which is that no matter what, we came together, we leaving together, leave no man behind. And
Very cool.
So even with the correspondence or how we wrote, if for instance, the way that we did the legal procedures, was everything. We just was always together. And, again, in my mind, because I became distanced from my own circumstances, not so much so that I didn't, worry about they could eventually kill me, or I didn't want to stay in here forever. But to the point to where, I just, like I said, was concerned for their behest more so than my own. And so Ricky was also a concern because he didn't have a brother, which I'm glad, on death row with him, And so, I'm very glad that, his brother Larry wasn't whooped up in that too, or something like that. But, Ricky was always a concentrated thought, simply because, if you just look at it like that, it's easy to have, and they tried even in the court system, to pit, us against him against us. Sure. But the mere fact that how we come up together and the way we were both raised in the two families, so similar of unity that, we just wasn't going for that stuff, And, they couldn't tell us. Ricky said something during the court procedure. They couldn't tell Ricky we said something. We just know better, and so that was also a very good social and mental magnet, for a spiritual magnet for us. The fact that, we had close-knitness prior to, because we wasn't just three guys that messed around every now and then. And so when we got in jail, we went our certain ways, We were guys that actually, his sister was my girlfriend, in fact.
Wow.
So we had really close history. Ricky was my brother, as well.
That's a beautiful aspect that I think, some people, they don't have when they're incarcerated. They're really isolated. And I just find it fascinating that you were always able to lean on that, no brother left behind, right? And it's something that we hold dear in our community as well too. Tell us now, our listeners, you have this shift, this landmark case happens, but your awakening has begun. When did you first start to feel a sense of, man, we're getting some momentum. I'm understanding how this whole thing is going to work and how we're going to shift this. What happened in all that for you to begin to say, all right, this fight, we potentially are going to win this fight?
So we had to shake Lucasville. Lucasville was out the question. If you know anything about the history of Lucasville, they would end up having the big riot down there. I think it was 94, 93 something. But so I had to get out of Lucasville. And I knew that because just a brief statement here about that institution. Lucasville was such that they only allowed telephone calls once a year during the month of December, Christmas time, for 5 minutes.
Oh,
miss it or make it. If you dial the number and it's busy, you hang up, so you got 3 minutes. You dial, it's busy, you hang up, you got 2 minutes, like that. So there was nothing happening in Lucasville. You had to get out of Lucasville by way of having security levels lowered, right? And so that happened in a mass thing. The Columbus came in and they say, man, y'all holding guys down here that should have been out of here into these lower joints. Just so happened that myself, my brother, and Ricky myself and Ricky. My brother was still being held under the psychological things. So I had to get out of Lucasville. 1984, I went to Lima Correctional Institution, Lima, Ohio, which at that time was being transferred over from having been the state territorial mental institution.
Wow.
So, and what happened there was in court, before they would sentence you, and this was all robberies, rapes, murders, those cases. They would send you to Lima from anywhere from 30 days to 90 days, and you would be psychologically evaluated for your sentencing. They send you back to the joint, then you get sentenced. Well, they bust that up, turned it into a prison. I get the privilege of coming down there on the second load that still had maybe 500 statewide certified crazies in it, right?
Oh, wow.
But the good thing about it was that there was some guys that was sharp as me or sharper in terms of wanting something conducive in the institution. And so we got together, man, and we went to the guy whose job it was to evaluate, who now didn't have a job because no more crazies. And we told him that we would like to have school, turn the institution into learning. And it took us about 8-9 months, just under a year, but we did. And so
wow.
here's where your boy's stuff starts rolling his way, and it sure enough happens. So we actually had to get them to solicit someone's to put the Ohio University, Findlay University. We had to get that in there, and then they had to find locals to do the GED and the ABE levels, right? Luckily, the guy that I'm talking about, his wife had, just like him, a minor in education. And again, this is where your boy take off. So since I was the founder of this organization, this this move to put school in here,
Right.
and I was doing a life sentence, and all I'm trying to do is figure out how to get out so I can save my brother and Ricky. Why not put a culinary arts school in here, which I do have a degree in, fellas?
Wow.
So that
That's awesome.
so that I'm doing time, I might as well eat good. Kill two birds with one stone.
Genius!
Not only
Genius, I
education,
tell
but
you.
I also get to eat well.
Genius.
Everybody went for that.
I was gonna say everybody be on board with that.
But they didn't see it like I saw it. They saw it as, it's because vocation, so, but we would build off of that and go on to, I would be the administrative clerk for 16 years. And in that time, as guys would come into prison, I would read their status. If they couldn't read, didn't have a language status over 1.9, which is a newspaper, the average newspaper, I would make them go to school. And I've actually had a couple physical fights with guys that did not want to go to school, the embarrassment or whatever. But I would send them a pass, they wouldn't go. I'd send them a pass, they wouldn't go. I'd send them a pass, and finally we'd meet, we'd find, who the hell do you think you are, but the reason why I was doing this was because I was innocent and these guys were guilty and they needed help.
Right.
And, as much as I was doing what I was doing for my brother and my friend, man, I got at least 600 to 700 men that have graduated with honors.
Wow,
all the way to
Kwame.
all the way to master's degrees, And then I put the NAACP in the prison system.
Wow. Had that ever happened before?
Not in the state of Ohio.
In the midst of the darkest place that any human being can be, which is incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
And wrongfully incarcerated, which would break most human beings, you were able to not only, perpetuate your faith and freeing yourself as whether your brother, but also to give people a second chance through education, right? Through developing their minds to have greater perspective that they can begin to explore the possibilities outside of those walls mentally, right? And hopefully for many of them, they actually were released and got to pursue these dreams. I mean, that right there is, that's the stuff of legends in my mind.
We all get the pressure that's mounts every day of being in a situation like that, knowing you're not supposed to be. It's almost like forging a diamond they throw you in there and squeeze you harder and harder, and then you can either break and become nothing, or you just cocoon up and let the pressure keep building and building and building, and then that point in time where you turned it around and started not letting the time do you, but you're doing the time and consuming your mind. It's basically like when you step into prison, you can step into your mind and keep pushing forward through all that and learn as much as you can, and helping all them guys that you did while you're in there, man. That speaks volumes to your character and everything.
His purpose. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What happened next? I'm dying to hear how that evolved into your parole and then your pursuit to get yourself adjudicated and your ultimately your brother and Ricky freed.
So like I said, now by this time the Lima experience, I'm great with everything in terms of I know where I'm at, I know what I want to do. I just got to still figure out how to get out of prison, and it seems that everything I'm doing is working because it's starting to give me a little leeway, and I come from super max with death row, to now I'm minimum 2, so it's kind of working, and
You're making progress.
Baby steps, right?
but now the metamorphosis takes on another hump because it's 1990 and I go to parole board, they give me 5 years. Now remember, this is Ronnie Patrick Bridge. So now sit back, you're gonna love this. So I go to parole board, 1990. They gave me 5 years. And I said, dang, man, my mom was kind of hoping after 15 years I was going to come home, And it's a Friday, right around 4:30. I was one of the last guys coming back from the parole board, so everything was closing down. So I said in my mind, well, I ain't going to call the old lady. I'll wait till after the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, because it's hard. It's going to be heartbreaking for her, So I'll let her at least, get the weekend in. But it never came to be because she passed away that night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
See? But now I'm at the crossroads, and this was the source of my whole support system. Right there, she's gone. Right.
Wow.
So, you'll learn as we go forward, brothers, that I don't think sitting down. I don't think moving. I think all the time.
Yeah.
And even in the worst times, I'm thinking. And so I said to myself, well, I went through all this. My mother had to walk. She was a real devoted to the church, give her money. I used to say, stop giving your money to them people type of woman,
Right.
But she had to walk to and for that church in shame, you see, to the day she died for something that was not true.
Right.
So, most of my going forward is based on that for her. But I say, what I'm going to do. And, some people might say it was hard, but I decided to kill that existence right with her.
Really?
And yeah. And so my name is not something that's haphazard. It didn't come from religion. It came from the mere fact that my mother died on a Friday before I could tell her that I got 5 years in the parole. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Kwame, fellas, which is a legal name, means born on Saturday.
Wow. Beautiful.
Really?
Okay?
That's profound.
And so the more you listen to me, you haven't heard the middle name is Kamau. And Kamau means silent warrior.
Wow.
Okay? And just knowing me the few minutes you know me now, Ajamu means he fights for what he wants.
Amen.
You see? So in death came the birth of who you're talking to now.
Wow.
Kwame, Kamau, Ajamu, at your service.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing the definition. I'm sure every one of our listeners was wondering where that came from. So now that you've been born again, and I love the connotation, that image that you just painted. Let's talk about getting your parole, having that freedom open, and from that moment to where that now elderly man, Mr. Vernon, on his deathbed, comes clean and admits that he lied all those years ago. Can you share with our listeners that righteous path of freedom?
Ooh, man. So, kind of make me shake a little bit on that one, brother. So it happened. January 22nd, 2003, the doors opened and I was released.
Wow.
After 28 years of my life incarcerated. And so, of course, that thing about future shock and all that, had no idea I didn't even know that the thing, the way you put the money in the bus now, I didn't even know that. So I was tripping. But luckily for me that the state, they have a thing here where if you are incarcerated more than 5 years, felony offense, of course, you are mandated to go into like a half in, half out situation. Mm-hmm. And so that's what they did with me, which I didn't mind, because I wanted to kind of put my feet on the ground gently and use my mind to reinvent myself, in the world. But that didn't happen exactly like that. In fact, the greatest thing besides being exonerated and getting my brothers out happened to me in that I met the woman that I married.
Oh, man.
And not only was she just the woman I married, but, she became everything to me. I mean, all of the disappointments, she rubbed them away. All of the shortcomings, she stood tall. All of the things I didn't understand in the practices in this life, she gently, caressed me. She didn't just, oh boy, you got, she gently, held my hand and walked with me, and when it came to my story and who I am, she accepted me.
She loved you unconditionally.
Unconditionally.
That's
and
beautiful.
So, man, that kind of bring tears to my eyes.
Amen.
Women have a special gift that guys don't have, man, and that's it, is to deliver you kind of gingerly, if need be, or with a stern hand, especially the ones who love us. It's kind of one of them deals when you find one, guys like us, like, I'll follow every rule you want, just don't go anywhere, let me see you every day.
So I met her, man, like 90 days
Wow.
after I got out. And she wasn't even from Cleveland. She was from another town, but she had migrated up here at a job that paid I guess twice the time more or something, as a supervisor, And so on the exchange in the bus, she caught the wrong one and it brought her downtown where I was at. You did.
Right.
She ain't got on her house stuff, but I was gonna have her come. But she's so daggone pretty, man, and bow-legged, guys, right? So I'm just getting out of the joint all this time, and I see this. I mean, man, you gotta think that was 15 years ago,
Right.
and she was bow-legged, man. I said, oh man, let me holler at her, right?
Right.
But it was met with she was one of them girls that you just couldn't pull up on,
Yeah.
And I'm yapping at her, she yapping at me, and I'm loving this though, right? And I'm yapping at her, she yapping at me. And so finally I said, where the hell are you going, And that's why she was upset, because she had caught the wrong bus.
Right. Right.
The bus, to catch it, no.
No, she caught the right bus, right, Kwame?
And I knew the one to get there, right? And, as fate would have it, man, I ended up catching this bus, the right one, with her for the next, I'd say, 2 weeks.
Wow.
Back and forth, and I was thinking like I was looking for a job. I wasn't thinking about no daggone job. But she said, yeah, man, and came my girl, man, and I told her about my story, and she embraced it, man. Like, she didn't bag up, when I told her, about my brother and my friend, and, and it was just a lovely thing. And so we got married the very next year in 2004, August the 2nd. And we've been married now 15 years, man.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Man.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Sounds like an amazing woman.
Can you now, as we we're closing the interview out, can you talk about what I believe, really is just this powerful thing, and can you relate it to because I've watched a bunch of your videos and read some of the articles. Can you relate it to the concept of forgiveness about Mr. Vernon and his admission, which ultimately exonerated the three of you? Can you walk us through that process?
Right. So I'm gonna give you the that part, the legalities first, and then I'll take you back to the forgiveness part. Okay. So do the first part last, and last part first.
Okay.
So I don't know if you saw, but I got a video. I'm gonna try to get it to you. I don't know about the the rights and stuff, but Edward is featured in one of my videos. And it was the first time that I had seen him. He was 52, going on 53. And, and he was saying how bad he felt, as he grew older, and about what he had done. And And this was like a bittersweet moment. I have to tell you that my brother accepts no apologies, and he has the right to do that.
Sure.
You know, he accepts no apologies from no one that he feels has wronged us in this certain circumstances.
Right.
And again, you got to remember he is one that suffers the worst.
Right.
Psychologically. But yeah. He is his physicalness, his kidneys, he's dying, his kidneys is in 1 or 2 stage, something, Edward is really going through it, he's been on drugs and alcohol. He even did a bit himself.
Wow.
And so when, coming out into all that and making these videos and having his preacher ask me if I would want to sit down with him, and was like even greater than all of the stuff aforementioned.
Wow.
Simply because this was the architect of the whole design right here. This was the creator of the story. This was the mofo that messed up my life right here, that you asked sit across this table and not wring his damn neck. You're asking me to do that,
Yep.
I'm me, and I'm not the guy that would react in that way, And so it happened. And so now I'll take you to why it happened, okay?
Uh-huh.
So on my journey, I got into different various religions. I learned a lot through Islam, right?
Right.
So much so that what I'm going to tell you is purely Islamic. And it's predicated on the faith, actually. And that is, if you cannot forgive another human being for his or her wrongs, then you cannot say you love this life in this world.
Amen.
Just that simple. And so Edward Vernon became just another folly, as I was, in the great scheme of things, you see? And I forgave Edward Vernon, man, when I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
You see, when I woke up and realized that Edward Vernon had been used as a child who was, 7 years my junior, and I was a kid. You see?
Yeah.
He had been used in an even worse way because his mother was dying, man, of ovarian cancer. And they told him that because he was so young, they couldn't prosecute him, but simply that if he continued not to say what he had said originally, they would do it to his mother.
Wow.
Oppression, you got coercion, terror, you name it. It happened to that child who was even younger than me.
Right.
So I forgave Edward Vernon the very minute I became a man.
Wow.
You see? And so this is my gift to you, brothers, going forward. If someone steps on your foot in the crowd, laugh and say, it's all right, brother. You walk on the top, I'll walk on the bottom.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You see?
Wow. Kwame?
Crazy how it takes certain situations for a man to go through to understand what you just said. I know true Islam saved my life. I mean, I've seen it at its purest form, actually.
Yeah, you did.
And still to this day, that's I have to know it. Otherwise, I get in trouble now.
Right,
but,
right.
So many of those situations can shove you down the wrong road, man. But if you come out enlightened like that, and that's I like to refer to it as worldly. There's some people that walk around that have been subjected to some of the horrors that most humans aren't privy to, or that we ultimately try to keep away from our people, man. But those who get dropped down into the, or put in the breach or dropped into hell and left down there for a while, it's almost one of those deals when we're expecting to see what comes back up, either a monster or the exact opposite.
No doubt.
It's truly one of those enlightening things when you sit and listen. You can see it. You can see it. You can hear it in his voice. It's not somebody just peddling that crap. Literally, that's the way it is. And the older we get and the situations, the bad ones, it's obvious it's in the back of our head. And you have that tendency sometimes when they do step on the foot. The first one's like, hey, mother, watch your damn foot. But then you're like, hey, you know what, man, my fault. I think I might have stepped under your shoe.
Yeah, right.
Man, so let me tell you before you close out. So
Okay.
I'll go on. I joined this organization, Witness to Innocence, which is the only organization of its kind. And that's because all of the members, myself included, I just happen to be the chairman, are former death row exonerees who were wrongfully incarcerated.
Wow.
And so we are national, in the very close process of going international. We tell these stories, we educate the public. I'm using now a each one teach one method, for which I developed personally for each and every brother. We have 2 sisters in this organization that they can be empowered to promulgate as me or better, you know, and really represent this movement in a steadfast and powerful way, because it's not just death row, it's not just life and punishment, it's mass incarceration, it's the sociological, it's the disenfranchisement, you know, it's the political. It goes all the way down to the fact that no one in no city can be prosecuted for any major crime unless that city can afford, okay, to have the special prosecution. It goes into a whole litany of things that only surrounds and affects the downtrodden. And so this is why Kwame Ajamu will be at your service. Whenever you need me, I'll come on your podcast and spread the news. I have contacts. I have a brother down in Florida. You guys in Florida. I have one of my members who's also a board member. Herman Lindsay is in Florida. He's doing some great things down there with the legislation for capital punishment, mass incarceration, human developments, social activities. So, you know, as we're going forward, man, we're going to be brothers. For real.
Amen. Well, Kwame, thank you so much. Where can people follow your organization? What's your website? Is there a Facebook page? How can people pay attention and get involved to support you and your brothers and sisters in this cause?
My man, hit me up at witnesstoinnocence.org, www.witnesstoinnocence.org.
And when is that book of yours going to come out?
I'm hopefully in the late fall. I've been kind of busy doing other things, and then I realized I made a key mistake, guys. I put real names in it, so I had to go back.
Yep, that happens.
Funny how that one works.
Yeah, how that works.
Right, little liability issues. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, sir, it is a true honor and a privilege for us to be able to have you on this show. We appreciate your honesty, your sincerity, and most importantly, just your wisdom. And on a personal note, you're just quite an amazing human being and truly represent the never quit mentality and mindset. So God bless you and God bless all that you do.
All right, man.
Thank you so much
great,
for doing
man.
this, sir. Hey,
like I say,
you're a true
anytime,
warrior.
man.
True warrior, a true warrior of Islam, and it's one of them deals where it was an honor to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. God bless.
Thanks, sir.
Marcus, dude, I mean, seriously, man. I mean, you think about being incarcerated alone, right? And that's enough to break the spirit or the mind of a man. But to be incarcerated unjustly and to never lose his hope or faith that his growth will continue and he at some point will, like he said, he will live to the day where he's freed and everything, you know.
That's the worst thing you can do to a human. Take
Right?
away their freedom.
Their dignity.
And even when you say that, people, can you imagine being thrown in prison for 7 years, something you didn't do? No.
No.
Like, consciously, I'm like, no. If I didn't
Unless
do it,
you've been there.
there's no way I'd wind up in there. No way. Everyone thinks that. Like, no, this America, blah, blah, blah.
It happens all the time. I mean, we talk about it with the judicial system, and you get these people that have been pulled over for having marijuana in their car and they're serving 10 years.
That's
you think about these people that,
When you say it out loud, I can't even quantify that. And you can't do that to somebody.
Well, the justice system, listen, don't get me wrong. My old man's been an attorney for 50 years, and so I grew up with it, around it. There are certain people that justly get what they deserve, right? For sure.
I'm not talking about them.
But there are also a substantial number. Our prisons are overcrowded. There's a substantial number, and the way prisons are run, right?
Yeah, in my head, I think that there needs to be a set of politicians that get in the office, don't care about the long-term game, to get in and change that part of it, because a lot of the laws on the books haven't caught up with the time period. But with the judicial system, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, and I think because of that, that's when terrible stuff happens.
Well, he made it abundantly clear, when especially if you don't have the means to afford a good defense, I mean, you're pretty much, you got most of the strikes against you right now. I mean, it really, in so many cases, whether corporate cases or they're, family practice cases, a lot of it comes down to just who has the most money to bury the other person.
It's equal in the eyes of the law. She's blindfolded, right? But that's not true.
It isn't. And that's, I think,
it's because lawyers cost different amounts of money.
Yep. And I think, that's what his point was. And I just really, beyond that measure, I think the man himself really is the example of
going through all that,
never
coming
quit.
out with that kind of attitude, and plus the group that he started and that collective getting together. When they come walking in the door, you're not going to be able to bully them around.
No.
Some lawyer's not going to be able to throw jargon on him because he's high paid or anything like that. And he nailed that too. He's like, I didn't know the law until I got in, and that's kind of the more you study the law, you understand it. And then, I just think what they're doing is great. You shouldn't. Not one day in prison for something you didn't do.
Amen. Well, if that was your first show, wow. I mean, what an amazing, Kwame is an amazing human being. Thank you for coming on board so and also listening to the show.
Thank you for surviving.
Yeah, right. And, so if you have got the bug now, you love the show, please go to our website and check out tnqpodcast.com. Where we have why we're doing it. We have all of our other shows. When you're there, if you feel like it, go over to our merchandise. We've got some great Team Never Quit podcast specific shirts for sale, as well as some other Team Never Quit swag as well. And we're getting ready to deliver some more swag. We're working on some hats and cups and all kinds of things for you guys. And the last thing I want to say is, if you're repeat offender and you're coming back, man, thank you so much. God bless you. We love you. And we also want to thank the people that are writing in these amazing never quit stories, right? This collective family, this group that we have that is finally together in a way that, man, I mean, these things are powerful. One of the things we've also started doing is we take tons of questions out there. We take them through our Instagram accounts, and it's at Marcus Luttrell. Mine is at Team Frog Logic. The Wizard is at The Wizard TNQ. But we get in also on our podcast page, on our website. We get a truckload of questions. So today, we're not going to do a listener story, but we are going to do is we're going to answer a listener question. So, Wizard, what do we got? What do you got for us today, buddy?
All the things people write in, and we also get a lot of not only stories, but just, people asking for some advice. Unfortunately, we don't have the bandwidth to answer everything that comes in, but when I came across this one, it just kind of stuck out to me, and I think we'll run through his question here and just see if, what we can come up with as far as some advice. So this is from Greg. Greg says, I'll keep this as short as possible. I'm currently 35 years old. I live in South Florida. I was a sheriff's deputy from the time I was 27. Something happened to me when I turned 30, and that almost seemed overnight. Depression. It's cost me a lot in the past 5 to 6 years. It cost me my job, times with my family that should have been happy and positive, stress, and other feelings that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Not everything is bad, though. In fact, there's way more good than anything else, which is almost more frustrating. I have an amazing wife that seems to have gotten the short end of the stick, so to speak. This all started right around the time we got married. Yet despite everything, all the hard times and tears, all my stupid decisions, carrying this family for a very long time, and even through tough love, she's always been there and remains by my side. Just short of 4 years ago, maybe the greatest thing that ever happened to us, when our son Jace was born. These past 4 years with him have brought me ups and downs. I look at him and it makes me so incredibly happy and proud. But then in the next breath, sadness. Sadness because I feel I failed him as a dad. Recently, I've made a decision within myself, and while I've stumbled here and there, I've decided that I don't want to do this any longer. I want to enjoy the great life I know I have, I just can't seem to grasp. I want to enjoy my marriage and make my wife feel safe, as well as feel vulnerable with her again. I've listened to every single TNQ podcast, most multiple times, and every time I do, I hope I'm going to find the one spark or idea that's going to finally pull me out of this. You'd think that my wife and son, among other things, would be enough. Not to say they aren't the most important things on earth to me, but I just can't seem to get it done. I've always believed in never quitting and still do. I make strides in progress to that, but then ultimately I seem to walk back and quit again. I feel there's still so much more in me to give and so much more good to do. I've thought about reaching out to you many times and never have, but I am now. After seeing all the people you've helped, even your stories, it's one more thing I'm now hopeful about. Thank you again. And taking the time to read this.
Well, Greg, man, first off, man, thank you for having the courage to write in and to express this challenge. Man, I feel your pain very personally. I've battled depression on and off for a lot of years in my life. And the one thing that I can share with you is that it's not going anywhere. I mean, you can learn to minimize it through a variety of different things. Certainly your family, being focused in that. Certainly your children, becoming a better man. Your physicality, what you eat, how you sleep, the environments and the people you surround with, all can help temper the longevity of depression for sure. What I recommend most, first and foremost, is go find a quality psychologist. Go in there and begin, regular treatments, once, twice a week if you need to at first, to where you can have somebody that you could develop rapport with, develop some trust, and really begin to understand where it comes from, right? Not just speculation, but understand whether or not it is genetic, whether or not it was triggered by something in your life. Really get down into the details of what it is. Once you understand that, then you begin to understand the triggers. All right. You begin to understand how it's leading in. You begin to understand what is company, how it begins to ramp up, what makes it spike, and really dig into the specificity of how you process your depression, how it affects you, how it affects the people around you. And at that point, I believe, is when you can become really proficient at addressing it and learning to temper it, to control it in a way where it doesn't wreak havoc in your life. But I'm telling you right now, if you ignore it, if you try and quash it, if you try and compartmentalize it, if you try and numb it with booze or drugs or whatever, it's gonna destroy you. I promise you that. It's not something that just can go away because you don't like it. It's something that you really, really have to attack head on.
Marcus, how do you feel about reaching out to a professional sometimes, getting some help?
I did my whole life. I joined the Navy. They were the pros. If I wanted to learn how to do anything, I always go out. You guys know I'm real upfront about my lack of everything, right? So I had to build myself from the ground up. The more uncomfortable you are about the situation you're in, the more of a professional you're going to need out of somebody else. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And there are people that are really good out there
it's been
who
going
know
on
what
for
they're
a while,
doing.
Man, and that know yourself, right? Kind of deal. I guess the mind and the body aren't clicking. And is that what's going on, or more or less, or the?
It could be a bunch of different things from a neurological perspective.
I don't even want to pretend to diagnose that. That's Morgan's wheelhouse, more than mine. But I know that in any situation where you're not on the plane that you want to be on, and you understand that, that's the first step, right?
Yep.
Evaluating the problem. And then going from there, and it's just like with anything else. I would imagine if your body's shut down like that, along with your mind, it's almost like being born, you're in a stasis. You can't get out of it, that funk. So I would imagine that it's small steps, baby steps to regain your composure and keep pushing forward. But I think you should know that you can get out of it.
For sure.
Right?
There are solutions.
The biggest problem that a lot of people run into is they mask it, right? They cover it up with something, and that never leads to anything.
Or
good.
they hide it from their close personal friends. Nobody wants to ever feel as if they have a weakness or anything like that.
I think it's important to remember, man, that some of us can get through the situation fine. And it's because you go back in the past, maybe we had both parents, or we were in a situation that allowed us to be trained for the moment that we just got in together. And not everybody's upbringing is the same. Maybe somebody didn't have that tutelage throughout their life. So, man, that's when you go to the guy who did. He can explain it to you, and that's okay. It's important that you ask questions because that's how you learn. I mean, you're not born knowing everything, and throughout life, as you get older, the more you step out and get into more situations around other people, the more chances are you're going to have to not only to learn, but to experience joy and defeat. And if you get into a situation where you're always getting defeated and all the people are around you don't have a problem with that, it's easy to fall into a hole because we're pack animals, man, humans. Even you find somebody who's like, oh, I like to be alone, I don't like this, that, and the other, they still do something that they hope somebody else sees, right?
Amen.
I mean,
Absolutely.
even the biggest person is like, I don't want to be left alone. He's out there yelling at people to leave him alone, right? If he wanted to be left alone, he'd just go be alone. He wants people to know he wants to be alone. You know
Who needs help, yeah.
And that's kind of the way they ask for help without asking. Like, I just want to be left alone. All right, man, let's go hang out.
For sure. So I just want to start my thanks, end the show by giving thanks to God, giving thanks to Christ, giving thanks to my endless sunshine, my girls, my family. I want to thank Kwame, man, for your courage and your conviction and to stay in the fight, brother. I mean, you're amazing. I want to thank our listeners. I want to thank Greg for writing in and asking that great question. We probably should do a show in the future about depression. It's a big topic out there. I want to thank our listeners, man, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And I want to thank you, cats, man. Thank you.
Yeah, Greg, thanks for writing in, brother. And Kwame, I don't know what to say. When you listen to stories like that, it's one of those deals where you just listen. You just need to listen and watch every single mannerism he shot out over that screen. I was just glued to it. Because you think in the back of your head, ultimately you put yourself in that spot, right?
Right.
But you
try to. You can't.
You know, even everything we've been through. So that says volumes about the type of man you are and what you can take and what you can endure. And thank you so much for walking that line and fighting that war by yourself and coming out on the other side a better man and teaching us a little bit about ourselves to make our country a better place. You're an American warrior. Thank you for it.
Amen.
I'm out.
Out.
Never quit. Never quit. Never quit radio.